Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and this is a special series during this COVID crisis where we'll be sharing the learnings, best practices, and failures and successes of all the channel leaders throughout the tech industry. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Hello, I'm Marc, I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I am lucky enough to have Paul Mclean, Channel Sales Director for UK and Ireland for Fujitsu in the house with me. How you doing, Paul?
I'm very well, Marc. Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to the channel chat.
No, thanks very much for coming on. So, Paul, what I wanted to talk about today, to be honest with you, I'm sick to death with COVID.
Yeah.
I think everyone has. It's been talked about a lot. And as we're easing out of lockdown, what I'm more interested in is what your views are going forward. But first of all, the first point I wanted to get onto was what's happened with your own staff. So, during the pandemic, people have obviously been worried about their well-being and how companies are reacting around home working and are they going to go back in the office, etc. And also how their companies have been treating their staff. So can you give me a flavour of what you've done as an individual to sort of treat your staff differently during this pandemic?
Yeah, so Marc, I think the first key point for that may really is understanding there's a complete spectrum of challenges that this has been giving to different individuals, and understanding those individuals and the different case they are at home is hugely important. Clearly, we have got some individuals who are completely alone and working in isolation, and really important we've got the regular touch points and the engagement with them. But we also have working parents who are trying to do homeschooling and the like. So there's been some big changes to their days. So we've tried to be really flexible in how we engage with our employees. We've tried to look at, for those with challenges around homeschooling and the like, we've actually brought in some scenarios where they've been able to take some extra carers leave so that they can have the flexibility to really focus on work when they need to be focused on work, but recognizing that the balance in their life has been changed dramatically over the past few months. So we've certainly looked at doing that. We've tried to do obviously lots of touch points in terms of virtual meetings, and twice a week we do a nice get together and a drink, an opportunity in the evening for people to get together and discuss how things are going sort of outside of the office hours. So really trying to have those regular touch points and understanding what is happening with each of those individuals, I think, is critical.
Yeah, did you see it as, and this is not me trying to be dismissive of what you just said there, but there was a real emphasis on pub quizzes and virtual meetings and virtual pubs and all that sort of stuff the first few weeks. And I'm seeing that quite a lot die off now because people are thinking, actually I'm really missing the office, or I'm actually really missing the real thing. Has it been quite hard to keep the momentum going on that?
Yeah, I think so. And again, it applies very differently to different people. You've got some people, if you're working at home in isolation, it's a fantastic opportunity to have some dialogue and coerce with my fellow employees. And there's others who are going, Jesus, do I have to do another hour time? My kids are going mental at home. So I think it's obviously getting that balance right, Marc. There's no doubt there was more of it done at the start. But I think we've done lots of things differently virtually that we wouldn't have looked at before. We've done sessions around posture and the comfort in terms of the working environment that people are in. Clearly, a lot of individuals aren't used to working at home and can be working. Some people have got desks in offices, others are working on their kitchen tables. So it's trying to make sure that we're also doing some stuff around that to ensure people are taking little breaks here and there. We did some, it was obviously Mental Health Week, I think the week before last, and all of our members of our leadership team were posting internally on a daily basis on some best practice around some of the things you can be doing to ensure that you're keeping your mental health levels where they need to be. For example, I was looking at trying to make sure people took an opportunity to utilize music, for example, and have that playlist of their favorite tracks that bring back great memories. And do you know what? When you've had a hard hour and a half on a virtual session with a customer internally, we'll take that 5 minutes and go and do something different. Listen to a couple of tracks and get your head where you really need your head to be. So I think it's been a great opportunity to spend more time thinking about things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as lockdown comes to an end, or very easing, or hopefully comes to an end, Paul, there's obviously companies going to be thinking three options. Option one, complete remote working. Option two, back in the office completely. Option three, a hybrid of the two. In your opinion, for Fujitsu and your sales team, what are you going to do in terms of adopting that throughout your staff?
So, I mean, for the sales teams, I think it's obviously we're very dependent on access to our customers, and different customers will have different views on when we're enabled to visit their premises, for example. But certainly from a Fujitsu standpoint, we're looking at having a minimal footprint back in the office over the next couple of months. And from a sales perspective, I'm expecting the lion's share of my organisation to continue to work from home. Clearly, we have some parts of the organisation that are in the office and need to be in the office, but that's probably sub 20% of the total employees in Fujitsu. We're expecting to be back in the office in the short to medium term. So I very much see this as an evolution where we will see more home working. I think a lot of organisations have seen some benefits from it. I think it's about evolving and making sure we're fit for purpose in the new normal, as I keep hearing, Mark.
Yeah. Do you think it's an interesting point that, Paul, because from a recruitment perspective, people have always come to me and said, culture is the most important thing, and the office environment, and people want to feel that it's the buzz of the environment, etc. Do you think you can maintain a culture, or your Fujitsu culture, and now you might not see people in the office, and you just might not see them for 1 month to the next? You can maintain culture.
Yeah, I think it's about evolving. I think that I've seen a lot of quotes in the press and from various leaders that I know across the channel, and I think one of the organisations that has a very unique culture is Softcat, and they've talked about how actually they've been able to continue an awful lot of that through virtual engagement and virtual meetings. So I'm Fujitsu is a very people-focused organisation, the large Japanese organisation, a human-centric organisation, and I'm very confident that we can keep our culture and our focus, even working more in this virtual and from-home environment. I think it's we're using different technologies as technologists as we're all meant to be. I think this has dragged some of us into particularly some of the virtual meetings and sessions, and optimizing how we use that technology to really get the benefits of the business. And I think we are seeing that it's very doable, and because of that, I think we'll see a good influx in a number of particular areas in terms of the demand for IT moving forward.
Yeah, actually, talking about that, obviously, before we started this session, that I couldn't hear you because I didn't have my volume up, which is obviously quite embarrassing. But are you seeing anything regarding, even over in technology, are you seeing any issues regarding staff struggling with deploying it and getting and using the technology, either it's WebEx or Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're using? Has there been technology issues because they haven't got the bloke next door to tap on the shoulder to fix it?
Yeah, well, I think we've all been a little bit reliant on being able to walk downstairs or take a walk across the office, tap someone in the shoulder who's an expert and say, "Can you fix this for me?" And I think a lot of people have been seeing that as a challenge, but we're certainly utilising things like Microsoft Teams more than we used to. I think we predominantly were using Skype for a lot of activities. We have started using a lot more of the functionality that you get with Teams, and I think actually you're finding that a lot of that technology enables us to have meetings that are as good, if not better, than they were face to face in terms of managing the timing, the content, and those sort of things. So I think it's very, very doable, Mark.
Okay, great. Let's move on to your customers, what you've been seeing. So during the pandemic, obviously everyone's been forced to work at home. Some customers have been in crisis, some customers have flourished from it. What have you seen in terms of the demand from your products and services from your customer overall, just a rough idea.
Yeah, so I think I mean there are clearly some big shifts in particular areas. So I think all vendors and Fujitsu exactly the same. We've seen a huge movement in terms of the mix of desktops and notebooks. So clearly, the drive to mobility is making notebooks, laptops, and mobile working the priority. So we've seen a huge transition in the mix of desktops and notebooks, for example, from a product standpoint. We've also seen one of the real success areas, and I think one of the things we are able to do for our customers is we've had a big focus in Fujitsu around how we evolve our pay-per-use models and our consumption-based models. And I think particularly with some of the service providers, where we know that we have customers that have got cash flow challenges, but ultimately need the functionality of IT to enable their organization to work with the agility and the scalability that the evolving world needs. We're seeing that model and our U-scale offering, our pay-per-use consumption models being very, very relevant to our customers. But I think, as you said at the start of that, Mark, for me, it's again about really understanding your customers and recognizing some verticals have almost dropped off a cliff. We know that things like hospitality have had huge challenges, and clearly some of our large retail customers, while other areas, clearly some of the government areas and the likes have grown massively. And so I think it's really about understanding your customers is hugely important there as well.
Yeah, and you touched on that in terms of customers might have liquidity issues, etc. Do you think customers are going to sort of continue to sort of spend on IT? Because some of these customers, it's business critical.
Yeah.
They might not want to spend their money on IT, but if they don't spend it on it, they're just not going to be functioning. They're not even going to be around.
Yeah.
So do you see the spend that continue, and do you still see like IT spend are going to continue throughout the year?
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're seeing it in different segments. The big substantial projects that are critical, I think, absolutely will continue. Which we are seeing and have seen a little slow off in the run rate of some of the smaller SMEs that have clearly furloughed some of their staff and are looking at OPEX control as a priority. But I've got no doubt that IT will be the key way in which organisations differentiate and innovate in these evolving times. I think if you look back at history and any big events that have happened, IT is one of those areas that will always continue to grow and evolve. And I think that how organisations differentiate themselves with IT is going to be more important than ever. We're doing a lot of work and training around our data-driven transformation strategy, where we're really looking at trying to work with our customers to better understand their data so that they're able to monetize that data and differentiate how they look at their customers, because more than ever we need to evolve in that way.
And are you seeing a more requests from the customers in terms of getting actually pay-as-you-go model or usage models, because they're actually thinking they don't want to spend the money on getting infrastructure or storage or loads of desktops or whatever it is? So is there going to be a drive if they get a pay-as-you-go model even more?
So I think so. I think the consumption-based modelling, which all vendors have talked about for a long period of time and probably have under-delivered in terms of just driving finance-based packages, which ultimately isn't true consumption. But I do see this as a catalyst or an acceleration around customers wanting to utilise that Nirvana pay-per-usage type model, where we've talked about for a long period of time. And I think the efficiencies that drives and the getting that functionality up front while paying for more of it towards the back end and as you use it is absolutely critical for companies moving forward. So we're continuing to invest in that area, and I think we're adding another couple of heads into that team at the moment, and we certainly see that as a key growth area, Mark, moving forward.
Yeah, because you think, Paul, and this is no criticism of Fujitsu, this is just my view across the channel. The digital transformations moved very quickly over the last sort of 6 weeks as we've been forced to. And I'm seeing that, people are sort of talking about unified commissions as a service, desktop as a service, etc. And people want that that consumption model. And yet, I didn't see the vendors that great at getting that message out there. If or maybe not through the partners anyway. The partners weren't getting that message out there. And yet now recently, the partners are doing webinars, they're doing online sessions, loads of communications are coming out there, and thinking, the end user is looking at them thinking, God, I wish I had this information before. Why do you think there was correct me if I'm wrong, but why do you think there was a lack of communication from partners or vendors on really what was needed actually to make that transformation?
I think a lot of it for me, Mark's around some of the tooling and the capabilities. So selling through that 3-tier model in terms of to a customer ultimately that's looking to consume in a pay-per usage takes a lot of tooling, monitoring and billing. And I think some of that investment at a partner level maybe hasn't been where it's needed to be. I think again this pandemic has certainly accelerated that and the need to be able to do that with our customers. But yeah, I think it'll be a huge growth area for the industry as a whole moving forward.
Right. So that, on that note, let's move on to the partners. Now the partners, there's going to be some losers in this big time. You know, some people are going to come really out of this really well. But I'm also sort of seeing, like I touched on earlier, that there was some partners that just weren't educating their customers on these solutions. They just weren't. They were just waiting for orders to come in or the phone to ring, and they'd tell them the solution, or they'd tell them a couple of competing vendors and hope they'd pick one, which quite frankly isn't good enough. So how do you think now, and what are you seeing from the partner community? One, vendors in general can help their partners, and two, what are you seeing from your partners demanding from you in terms of products and services and marketing and education and training?
So I think that last point, Mark's very pertinent, and I think everybody has focused a lot on the training and the enablement with the partners. So we've looked at providing a lot of training, again, back into the pay-per usage that we've just touched on. We've done a number of training sessions with our partners around that, but also looking at some of the mobility enablement and helping our customers move to this new form of working. So looking at mobility bundles and things of that ilk that are able to meet the short-term requirements of the customers. I think in terms of the engagement with the partners, one of the things we've tried to do is to provide a little bit more predictability in terms of our business. So if you look at how partners are generally targeted and rebated from vendors, which does drive some of that profitability, I think we've tried to take away some of the gates and the uncertainty. So moving from a target-based rebate and compensation scheme into our resellers and distributors to moving to a linear first dollar type scheme, and I think that was something that's helped in terms of mitigating some of the risk and providing a little bit more predictability to their business, which I think is something clearly we're empowered to do. So I think that's certainly been a big focus for us. I think we're also looking to work closely with them to help their customers in terms of cash flow and extended payment terms, etc. if needed. So yeah, I think been a lot of evolution. There's probably been more contact, even though not face to face, but clearly virtual, than there's ever been before. But I think the really important thing is making sure that the content that we're driving into our partners is relevant, because they're receiving more communications, more webinar invites than they've ever been before. So you really need to make sure that they're relevant and going to drive business benefit for those partners to get them to join and to get them to focus on those critical areas such as the consumption models I was touching on.
Yeah, and do you know what, Paul? Just to echo your points there, you know, I'm a big fan of the channel. That's why I started the channel chat. I want to promote it and make sure that, you know, all the good points are brought out of it. But what you've said there, you know, educating partners, collaborating more effectively, you know, trying to be a bit more flexible, I think is great, and I really hope that the channel adopts that moving forward. I don't know about you, but I found everyone a bit more kinder, a bit more trying to help people out, a bit more flexible. If that can go forward in the channel moving forward from end user right up to the vendor, I think it's great, because there was definitely, you know, when I've done these channel chats before, some people were saying to me, what's the thing that can change in the channel the best? You know, more collaboration, more trust, more partnership, which ironically is happening now more than ever due to this pandemic. If there's anything good can come out of it, that has been great. So my last question to you, Paul, and it's almost on that note. throughout the channel, we want more collaboration, we want more partnerships. Fujitsu want better partnerships with their end users, better partnerships with their partners. What can you see as anything positive to come out of this pandemic, and what can you see moving forward as we hopefully ease that lockdown?
So I think certainly you talked about some of the attitude. I think is evolved slightly. I think the importance of driving a partner ecosystem and the collaboration message is hugely important. There is no doubt that the old days of having sort of one organization and one vendor's portfolio run everything in your they're gone. So this is about how do we, I think, closely collaborate and partner with the right third parties to be able to provide those suitable solutions into our customers. I mean, we're seeing a lot of demand. Obviously, HCI is a critical area in terms of some of that enablement in the enterprise space, and our partnership and working together with Nutanix and VMware is working very well. But I think that ecosystem and that working together concept is really important if we're going to deliver what we need to our customers. We have a huge amount of customers. I know we touched on earlier in terms of the Home Office and domestic abuse was one of the things that we were going to talk about, and I know that the government did refer to Fujitsu and the work that we're doing in that area. I mean, clearly with isolation, we have seen an increase, unfortunately, in the number of domestic abuse victims and calls into helplines, which has been a real negative throughout this period, but one that's understandable with the current scenario. So we've been working with the Home Office for over 25 years, and in addition to clearly making sure that during COVID-19 the services and our work with them has continued to that high level, we have been working closely with them to ensure that we're providing technology support and resource into some of the smaller charities to enable to have those individual victims have people that they can talk with and have those discussions that are going to help them through these really tough periods. So I think how we've done that is a great example of many of the good things that we're seeing in the channel. And I'm personally very proud of how the channel has evolved and stepped up in these challenging times. And I think we often get bad press as salespeople focused on driving our own individual success. But I think we've seen a huge amount of great things that the channel have done in all sorts of different levels to ensure that the country is as supported as it can be through IT.
Do you know what? I'm going to echo that, and I have said it so many times in this, but I will say it again. Low frontline heroes in IT. The IT channel, I think, has done an amazing job, phenomenal job in actually keeping the country going. But I know this: there'll be thousands, tens of thousands of companies knackered, absolutely destroyed if they hadn't had their partner or one of their vendors helping them actually continue business. So, I absolutely echo that. And there's one last question. So before you go, I will let you go. One last question. You mentioned it in what you just said there about, and I'll use the term co-opetition. Vendors working together or partners working together for the benefit of the end user.
Yeah.
Do you see that moving forward even more now?
Yeah, and then there's definitely stats. So, Mark, if you look, I think it's something like 70 or 80% of the business by 2023 will be delivered by partners in ecosystems rather than individual vendors or partners in isolation. So I think it's absolutely integral. The complexities of IT now are such that you need these organizations collaborating and working together to provide best-in-class solutions for our customers that really drive, in particular, as we've seen, that flexibility and agility. We never know what's around the corner, and having that flexibility in your IT system can only come through a true collaborative approach. And I think that's certainly from our standpoint with the data-driven transformation strategy an absolute focus for us in how we meet our customers. We can't do it in isolation. We need to work with other vendors, with other resellers, with service providers who have unique skills and capabilities to make sure we're really addressing our customers' needs and helping them in these challenging times, which no doubt will be challenging for quite a while, Mark.
Paul, you've been a fantastic guest. Thanks so much for your time. Until next time.
Great to speak to you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us and listening to another episode of our Channel Chat podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard and are listening on iTunes, please could you give us a review and subscribe in order to get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Otherwise, as always, we release an episode every Thursday at midday, so hopefully you can join us then.